So how many of you guys here have set up your healthcare directive? Or downloaded one, or at least, got one? Did you guys know that they're required by law anytime you go to the hospital now? Because doctors don't like being sued. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Hospitals don't like being sued.
What was it called again?
Advanced Healthcare Directive. Very good question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what it's called. And by the way, the Healthcare Directive came into being in the year 2001. Prior to the Healthcare Directive is what we call the Durable Power of Attorney, which was in 1991. And if you guys are still mentioning the word living will, that's ancient. That's at least 3 decades old. And we don't even use living wills here in California. The Healthcare Directive is what we use. As of 2016, there was an update. There's been several updates in 2001. But in 2016, I'm just trying to grab your attention. Did you guys know that we're the second state to adopt the End-of-Life Option Act, where you can self-administrate a drug under very specific circumstances? If you've been diagnosed to die within 6 months, you've given 2 oral consents to 2 different doctors and 1 written, and then they have to be so many days apart, and you can only self-administrate the drug yourself. You can't have your husband, you can't have your agent, you can't have your hospital or doctor, anybody else do it, and you have to be conscious enough to know that you're taking it. And it's allowable here in California, whereas before Oregon was the first state to do that.
That's good.
I thought it was still just Oregon.
No,
I was
ma'am.
gonna move there.
We don't. I just saved you. You're welcome.
Good working.
I just saved, that's Michigan, and that's the doctor doing it. So, see, that's, I'm trying to demystify, I'm trying to keep it in control here. So basically, that's just one thing. But the healthcare directive covers minor and major medical decisions, anything from a broken bone to do you want to be kept on artificial life support or not. And it works posthumously in the sense that someone can either do disposition of your remains. Do you want cremation or burial? Do you want to donate organs or not? Do you want an autopsy or not? Things of that nature. The healthcare directive covers all that. And in addition to the healthcare directive, there's the other document, which is called the financial power of attorney. You guys wouldn't believe how often the financial power of attorney is necessary, because I have people like myself who get in a biking accident, and then who's going to keep on managing my bank accounts or my retirement accounts? They're in my name, and if my wife didn't have a financial power of attorney, she wouldn't be able to talk to my financial advisor or my banker. Or with real estate, if one spouse is incapacitated and there's 2 people on title, don't you need 2 signatures?
Absolutely.
And if you don't have the 2 people present, you need their power of attorney to be present to have someone sign on their behalf, right?
Right.
So the financial power of attorney, in addition to the healthcare directive, is just as important, because we basically want to be able to allow someone else to make decisions for us. It's just that the problem, when we look at the healthcare directive and the financial power of attorney, and we see the word agent or attorney in fact, everybody thinks, oh, that's only when someone's incapacitated. It could also be out of convenience, because I have clients who go back to Mexico for 2 or 4 months, and then they have rental properties here, and they need somebody to keep on managing their business for them. It's not that they're cuckoo, it's just that they're inconveniently not available. Another example, a lady, a client of mine who's a doctor, OBGYN, and now she's an OBGYN for Kaiser, but she educates the other OBGYN doctors. And she basically gave specific power of attorney to her husband, pretending you're the husband, and then she said, hey, I'm too busy at work, we'll converse at night when you come home, but I want you to deal with, with Becky and Tom, the realtors, on selling the house and getting the mortgage, because I don't have time for that. And then that power of attorney allowed her husband to basically do that, and she could continue making money to pay the house. So
That's good.
and that's not because she was cuckoo, she was incapacitated or physically incapacitated, it's because it was a convenience. So these documents are just as important as the trust and the will. The healthcare directive and financial power of attorney avoid problems when someone's alive but unable to do those things for themselves. Go ahead.
Would this be the right one?
This is what they call a durable power of attorney. I don't know, because sometimes you have to look at it and they have to be what's called statutory. Okay. If I open it, you're not going to get a refund.
No,
She's like, don't do
no.
that.
I can open it.
No, this, just by looking at this format right here, it doesn't look, because I don't see the words California Probate Code Section 4700 or something like that. It looks like a generic one. The problem with these is that they look really fancy, but the powers of attorney are only as good as someone like Becky or Becky's boss or the title company is willing to accept. So if Becky presents this, now you're the title company, you're going to go like this or like that. So
Usually because they want to protect themselves.
yeah, and so if it's not the right kind and it's like a store-bought one, and then you also have to look at when it was revised or when it was updated. There's a little section on the lower left-hand corner, revision date. And then if it's like 2003, oh my God, they're like, no, these things have been updated. Or if it's not prepared according to the California probate code, that's another thing. You have to remember, my equivalent is at the title company. They have title officers, and then they have attorneys that do these documents. And ultimately, if they do this, then you might as well just use that for toilet paper, because it's worthless. So it's really important. I mean, it's a nice little gimmick. You know, like when you go to the gas stations and you see like these little things on the counter, they're called impulse buys. And what they do, no offense, but they create these documents, and sometimes when people don't look at the revision date or how they're created, oh, I just need to get that. It's just like when you go to the grocery store and like, oh, I'm gonna get cookies, I'm gonna get chips, and you're just basically impulse buying. And some of those things may or may not be correct. That's basically what I'm saying. You should probably look at it correctly, because you don't wanna mess around with these type of things by just doing a store-bought thing like that. It's basically what
Those
we're
from
doing.
office supply.
Oh, Office Max.
You told me to go to the
Advertising for Office Max. Anyways, so let me cut this short, because I think I've done my entertainment part already, and I'm starting to sweat here, so I know I've worked.
I think you did well.
So